Remember when Matt absolutely leveled Kristen Wiig?
Oh my god!
Let's go back.
Tamagotchi,
of Y2K.
Welcome back to another Joe Schmo Show video. You have no idea how many times I had to say that. I told you wouldn't have to wait long, and in this video I'll be covering episodes 4 and 5. I recommend going back and watching part 1 and 2 of these videos if you want to catch up with what's going on.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Still? Well, alright. Then all you need to know is that the Joe Schmo Show is a fake reality show that aired on Spike TV back in 2003. The concept is a group of people living in a mansion and competing for $100,000. The catch is that everyone is an actor playing up the stereotypical reality TV archetype, except this guy Matt, who thinks everything's real. For those of you who have watched the first 2 videos, sorry about that spiel. Let's jump into episodes 4 of 8. On the last episode, Earl's eviction hit Matt pretty hard and they were considering ending the show.
The cast and crew make the risky decision to continue with the show as planned.
I'm shocked. The director says they're gonna go faster with the stories. I'm sure that'll help by overwhelming Matt even more. Good call. The new storyline that they're going with is that Hutch and Dr. Pat slept together, and Hutch isn't afraid to kiss and tell.
Hutchie got a little action last night. She opened up to me. Literally, dude.
I would say this is a bit over the top, but we all knew a guy like this back in high school or college. At first, Matt doesn't believe him, but when Dr. Pat comes out, he starts to realize it's true. Well, at least he thinks it's true. The weird thing is that this setup is interesting, but doesn't really have a payoff. I guess you'd say there's no real climax. Nice one, Michael. Honestly, I nailed that joke. I should just end the video right here. The next competition is called Sumo Slam, and it was meant to be funny and lighthearted to help everyone get over what happened the night before. Unfortunately, Molly has a panic attack in the claustrophobic sumo suit. Literally, by the way, this wasn't scripted. She can't do it, so she pulls herself from the game, which actually works out for the Ashley, Molly, Ralph love triangle since she gets to stand next to him throughout the entire game. The rules are if you leave the ring, you're out. If you get knocked down on your stomach, you could try and get back up, but if you end up on your back, you're out. The winner gets 6 nights and 7 days at a spa in Utah. They split into 2 groups of 3. The first group is Matt, Brian, and Dr. Pat. Matt goes full out and hits Dr. Pat hard, and Brian just nopes out of there to avoid Matt's wrath. Unfortunately, when Dr. Pat landed, she smacked her head off the ground.
Get my suit off! Get it off!
Alright, we're gonna roll you up.
Well, the light-hearted fun game has gone well so far. We've had a panic attack, one of the cast members is sent to the hospital, and Matt's crying again. After Dr. Pat is escorted away, it's Group 2's turn. The show must go on, as we learned from the last episode. Group 2 is Hutch, Ashley, and Kip. Kip ends up winning because they didn't want it to be Hutch versus Matt in the final in case Matt killed him.
I think I saved Hutch's life that day. Hutch, you owe me one.
As Kip and Matt get ready for the final, they both put their game faces on.
Oh, I'm going to knock you down on your back!
Matt pushes Kip out of the circle and wins the getaway spa trip to Utah. All he had to do was murder Kristen Wiig. To celebrate, everyone piles onto Matt, while Hutch and Brian get into some extracurriculars. To help lift Matt's spirits, they order pizza for dinner and are told that Dr. Pat is going to be just fine. Now that Brian knows she's going to be okay, he starts talking about masturbation at the dinner table, as one does. Then Matt asks Molly if she's ever done it, and her reaction's quite telling.
Have I ever done that?
Yeah.
Ashley isn't too happy with Molly because she tells Matt that during the sumo game, Molly was all over Ralph. Matt doesn't look too happy to be stuck in the middle and doesn't like when Ashley keeps slandering Molly. After dinner is the Immunity Showdown to find out who will be the Lord of the Manor. I don't remember them using the Lord of the Manor title before, but I kinda like it. It's like the head of household from Big Brother, but on steroids. Dr. Pat returns in time for the competition.
Right here. Sit right here.
Jesus, now we know how Hutch got the role on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Matt feels terrible still and apologizes profusely to Dr. Pat and shows his good faith by giving her his spa trip to Utah. Ralph makes it official and then we move on to the immunity competition. It's a debate competition. 2 house guests will be assigned a topic. Whoever can discuss their topic the longest time without stopping or laughing wins the round. Your opponent can try to distract you in any way they want, but they can't cover the speaker's mouth, cause pain, or make any noise. The plan for this competition is to have Matt win. First up is Matt vs. Kip in a sumo final rematch. Matt has to defend nice and easy, while Kip must defend fast and furious. This is the only debate Vin Diesel would be qualified for. Matt goes for 1 minute and 47 seconds while Kip just sort of waves his arms around.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
He doesn't break until Kip bends over in front of him. When it's Kip's turn to speak, Matt just tickles him and he immediately laughs. Next is Dr. Pat versus Brian. She must defend one-night stands not being okay, much to Hutch's pleasure, and Brian has to argue the opposite. Dr. Pat, however, can't even get a single word out before Brian makes her laugh with his shirt coming out of his fly. Time for things to get awkward because it's Ashley versus Molly, and the topic is give versus receive. Ashley tries going up Molly's skirt, which makes her break fairly quickly, but when it's Ashley's turn, things get a bit awkward.
I like to receive attention like other people do, especially when they get headshots from other people, and don't play the sumo game like someone I know who didn't today, because they wanted to talk to the host all day long.
Moving on, now it's Brian versus Hutch in the battle of love versus money. Brian wins the debate by pulling out his nut. That's right, you heard me, a single nut. Brian tends to find any excuse to expose himself. Might want to keep an eye on him. Matt versus Ashley debate. Which is better, top or bottom? Seems like the most knowledgeable person for this topic would have been Kip, but oh well. Matt breaks Ashley fairly quickly by putting his face on the back of her dress. The finals are Matt versus Brian. The topic they'll be debating? Reality TV, innovative or mind-numbing crap? Matt puts his mouth on Brian's nipple and it breaks him. But he isn't gonna just roll over and give up. Brian's bringing out the big guns. He takes off his pants and jumps on Matt's back, but that doesn't break him and Matt wins the immunity robe. Honestly, this whole competition was kinda meh, but the producers got what they wanted, so it's now time for the eviction ceremony. Suspenseful music plays as we see the suspenseful look on the cast's face looking at the suspenseful door. This time Ralph actually talks to the house guests before they vote and asks them some questions.
Ashley, how's your situation with your roommate?
Fine, thank you for asking.
He also asks Hutch if he's feeling vulnerable, this being the first eviction without the immunity robe.
Get the feeling people don't want me around, so I'm feeling a little cold without that jacket right next to me.
The voting begins, and again Matt's vote is the only real one and he votes for Ashley, just like he did last week. Ralph comes out with all the votes, however he says there's something else before he reads them. What wasn't revealed earlier about the spa trip is it came with something else, and since Matt gave the trip to Dr. Pat, the decision rests on her shoulders. Dr. Pat has the choice to stay in the house and pursue the $100,000 grand prize, or take $25,000 and voluntarily leave right now. It's funny because she talks about how money doesn't matter and she made so many great friends, and then immediately flips on this and says,
Maybe I'll just take the money.
You accepting the offer?
Yes.
Dr. Pat addresses the group and then Ralph gives her her plate back because she voluntarily left, so we don't get to hear our favorite line. Maybe next episode. Before the episode ends, Matt says he doesn't regret giving Dr. Pat the prize, and he too would have taken the money and ran. We're on to episode 5, which means we're more than halfway. The cast is having lunch when Hutch announces that now that Dr. Pat is gone, he's open for business again. He also admits that he voted to evict Dr. Pat the night before.
Hey, Hutch don't like baggage, you know what I'm saying?
By the way, all of Matt's confessionals for this episode are filmed while he's in a bathtub. Honestly, huge power move by Matt. Ralph shows up and asks to speak to Molly outside for a moment. Ashley once again gets upset and drags Matt back into it.
Don't you think that he and I would make a good couple?
No.
Well, that's about as blunt as you can get. Molly comes back in and talks about how sweet Ralph is, and he just wanted to check on her to see if she was okay from her panic attack. Then Ashley officially calls out Molly for flirting with the host, but Matt counters by calling out Ashley.
But if he hooked up with you, it's okay?
Matt says they both need to hash this out because he's sick of being in the middle.
Quit saying shit to me, please, and putting us in the middle of it, because I don't like it.
Next, we get the Money, 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 Honey game, which is the only game I remember watching when I was a kid. I'm not sure why it stuck with me. Ralph comes out dressed as a bumblebee. I don't blame Ashley and Molly for fighting over Ralph. I mean, look at him. He just oozes sex appeal. Ralph decides to have a bit of fun with the costume and pretends to have a meltdown with the director in his ear.
You're not dressed like you're working a fucking kid's birthday party.
Seeing Ralph upset about his costume makes Matt lose it.
I am fucking sorry.
In this game, players will be handcuffed to their partner and must cover themselves in honey before rolling around in a pit of money. The winners will receive a luxurious trip to Tahiti. The only rule is players must take the money off their partner. They're not allowed to touch themselves.
Matt, you think you can handle that?
I think I
Not
can.
touching yourself for 5 minutes?
I think I can.
Great.
The first team is Kip and Ashley, and the two do really well and collect a ton of money. Next is Matt and Molly, and Hutch turns into a bit of a scientist.
Your boobs have the most surface area. Come on, let's go.
Maybe this is why I remember the honey competition so fondly. Last up is Brian and Hutch, and things get sexy. By the way, whoever edited this episode blurred Brian's nipples throughout the competition, and I tip my hat to whoever it was because it's fucking hilarious. Kip and Ashley win the trip, but there's more. Because Matt and Molly came in last, they have to remain handcuffed for the rest of the day.
What a twist!
Later on, everyone is hanging out in the jacuzzi when Hutch continues antagonizing Kip about throwing him into the deep end of the pool. This isn't the first time, he's been threatening to do that since the first episode. If Hutch doesn't toss Kip in the pool by the end of the season, I'm gonna be very disappointed. Ralph shows up to announce he has a musical guest that the producers asked to bring in. It's William, Molly's boyfriend from church camp, there to sing her a song. He's a huge dork, and he kinda reminds me of this guy from the Progressive commercials.
To gaze upon your golden hair, your lovely hazel eyes.
It quickly takes a turn when the boyfriend realizes not only is she in a bikini, the devil's cloth as I'd like to coin, but she's handcuffed to another man.
She's handcuffed to a guy. And not just any guy. She's handcuffed to me.
Oh shit, Matt. I like the confidence. Molly's boyfriend asks her to cover up and the two argue while Matt tries his best not to be involved while still handcuffed to Molly.
Strippers take off their clothes for money, alright? That's what it looks like right now.
Everyone gathers at the front door as William's leaving. Ralph reminds Molly that if she steps outside the house, she'll be disqualified, and he does everything he can to hold her inside. As soon as William leaves, Ralph swoops in and whisks Molly away into the bedroom, to which Ashley once again gets upset. What are they doing in there? Let's take a look.
I think Molly's got a new man in her life.
Yeah, he gets a B+.
B+?
Back in the jacuzzi, Ashley's still sassing Molly when Hutch explains just how much he respects women.
I respected all over Dr. Pat's back.
After dinner, where Hutch thinks it's an appropriate place to cut his toenails, Ralph shows up. He says he has something for dessert. It's time for the immunity robe competition. While they're waiting for the game to begin, Hutch leans over and whispers something into Kip's ear, and Kip flips out.
Right now, I need to talk to a producer.
Turns out Hutch told Kip he was going to throw him in the pool again. I love their elementary school dynamic. They play it up really well. After separating the two, the clickbait gods once again bless incredible thumbnail material on me, because in this competition, the house guests have to lick chocolate off a topless model. The reason for this competition is because chocolate, much like Earl's feet, makes Matt gag. What they have to do is lick the chocolate off the models to reveal letters. Whoever can figure out the word fastest wins immunity. The producers, however, didn't plan for the weather because that night it was cold and all the chocolate became thick. Probably not the only thing that became thick during this competition. Am I right? Anyway, the house guests struggled to lick the chocolate off, but especially Matt. Although for good measure, he goes for the model's breasts first. This is just smart strategy. Just ask Hutch. He knows this. He's a scientist. Matt begins to gag and he has to bow out of the competition, and then they cut to Matt's interview afterwards, and it's a hilarious image.
You know, where would I hide them?
Just like Matt, Molly also bows out of the competition because of the stuff her boyfriend said about her earlier, so she doesn't want to lick a naked woman. Because of this, Ashley's the last one standing with the quickest time and wins immunity. And just like that, we're on to the next eviction ceremony. But again, the votes won't matter this time because as soon as Ralph arrives, he says there's been a change of plans.
It has become evident to them that one of you has violated a rule that you all agreed to upon entering into the mansion.
Because of the constant threats from Hutch to Kip, the producers have decided to eject Hutch from the mansion, and he takes it really well.
Where you make
The house guests celebrate being in the final five and decide to have a pajama movie night in Matt's bedroom, which turns into a pillow fight, and that's where we'll leave off this time. There will only be 2 more videos for the Joe Schmo show, as I'll be covering episodes 6 and 7 next, and then the 2-hour finale to finish it off. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. To everyone who likes this video, may you one day be tossed into a pool by Hutch. Bye everyone.
Fuck this cocksucking show.
Goodbye!